Okay. So thanks everyone for being here. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. We'll allow some time. Oh, here's Monty. Allow some time for people to trickle in. Thanks everyone for being here. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. Allow some time. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Monty.
Sorry, I was downtown. I just got here.
That's no problem. We were so happy to see you. Are you going to put on your camera?
I can, I guess. At least I hope I can. It hasn't always worked. Hang on, I got to turn the light on here too.
Great, I love this. That's so cool.
So, shall I introduce you?
Yes, please.
Well, all right. Hi, my name is Monty Reed. I'm the director of VERSeFest, and I'm pleased that everyone has signed on to this event this afternoon. It's the second of our in the day, and it's the next to last day of VERSeFest, and the good stuff is happening now. I'm pleased that also that this event is going to be hosted by Leslie Roach, who you can all see, and Leslie is she's a lawyer, and she's also an extraordinary poet, and that strikes me as a very dangerous kind of combination, but a combination that makes for a wonderful host. So please, you take it, Leslie.
Thank you, Monty. Thank you for that very nice introduction. It's a pleasure to be on here with you, Monty. Yeah, and to be with VERSeFest again this year. I was there last year for the first time, and it was super. So I'm going to get right into it. We are so happy to have 4 wonderful poets with us for this event entitled In Words and Blues Monday, which I found really interesting. So our first poet is Amelie Trottier. I will be introducing Amelie in French, and she's going to be providing us some context for her poems in English, so we're not too lost. But a lot of us won't be lost and will be delighted that she's speaking in French, and I am one of those people. So, Amélie Trottier, comédienne, animatrice, chroniqueuse et autrice bilingue. Amélie Trottier participe à plusieurs projets artistiques et médiatiques. On l'a vu dans La 4e sœur, Le roman égyptien et La pierre. Entendu dans Vidado et l'Utopie d'Amélie comme animatrice et dans Culture Géniale comme chroniqueuse. Avec son collectif poético-théâtral Les Frivoles, elle a participé comme autrice dans nos corps plexiglas et comme performeuse dans l'écosystème poétique et va de terre. Amélie, merci infiniment d'être avec nous. Je te cède la parole.
Thank you so much, Leslie. That was great. Thank you for everyone that's there. Thank you for being there. This is really exciting for me because I haven't participated in many readings, public readings of my texts. Like Leslie said, I'm an actress, and that's mostly why I write, because I want to be able to perform my own work. So here we go. I have 8 short texts that I have written here during the pandemic, and it's kind of a way I chose to feel better about the situation and to write about my thoughts and emotions in the moment. So this first text is actually something I wrote at the Department of Theatre at the University of Ottawa during the pandemic, while we were still having classes in person with masks, with distance, with distance and everything. I was just looking outside and looking at the buildings in the city, and I was asking myself a lot of questions. So here it is. Assise sur le rebord de la fenêtre, j'observe les nuages lentement chatouiller les gratte-ciels. Je me demande quel âge a l'édifice voisin. Combien de fois a-t-il supporté la pluie torrentielle, le vent et les tornades? Combien d'hivers a-t-il traversé? S'ennuie-t-il de l'été lorsqu'il fait froid? Est-ce qu'il s'ennuie de sa jeunesse? A-t-il peur de s'effondrer sous la pression des vignes qui grimpent et s'attachent à lui? Se sent-il étouffé par la pollution, par les déchets? Quelle opinion a-t-il du changement climatique? Quand je ne serai plus là, sera-t-il encore debout? J'appuie ma main sur le cadre de la fenêtre. Elle ne bouge pas, têtue. J'ai peine à respirer, j'ai besoin d'air frais. Il se met soudainement à pleuvoir. Quelques gouttes traversent la moustiquaire et frappent la vitre. Je plisse des yeux pour voir sur le toit de l'édifice voisin. Là, un oiseau d'ébène m'observe. Ses plumes reluisantes d'eau reflètent le peu de lumière qui traverse les nuages. J'aimerais le rejoindre. J'aimerais apprendre à voler comme lui. J'aimerais sortir de ma cage et voler malgré la pluie. Je m'essaie à nouveau sur le mécanisme d'ouverture de la fenêtre. Cette fois-ci, elle cède. Il pleut de plus belle. Sans vitre pour empêcher l'eau d'entrer, je suis fouettée par la morsure glaciale de la pluie et du vent. Je déchire la moustiquaire sans jamais quitter l'oiseau des yeux. Il semble me guetter du coin de l'œil, m'encourager. Pour la première fois, j'ai l'impression d'être comprise. Je me rapproche de la bordure sans jamais regarder vers le sol. L'oiseau a disparu. J'entends un cri lointain. Un appel. Je suis un oiseau. Et ce n'est pas la pluie qui m'empêchera de voler. So that was my first short text. My second one is in a different sphere. It's more of kind of me trying to take back the narrative on climate change and my generation's kind of like the situation that we're facing, and was kind of trying to find who was to blame. Toi là, toi mon gars, toi l'assassin anonyme, toi l'immortel auto-couronné, toi qui fais rien pour tout puis tout pour rien, toi qui s'en crissait du changement climatique, toi qui s'assoit sur son cul puis qui regarde le monde brûler à travers son écran. T'es pas vieux, t'es pas jeune, t'es pas un baby boomer, t'es tout le temps là, peu importe le temps qu'il fait, t'es là. T'es là depuis la genèse du monde. On sait pas où tu vis, mais on est voisins. T'as pas de visage, mais on t'entrevoit. Chez Métro, au resto, dans le McDo, ruiner l'équilibre de la Terre, virer le monde à l'envers, envoyer chier l'univers. Puis après tout ça, toi, mon gars, toi là, toi, on sait que tu changeras pas. It's kind of my feel-good text, even though it's not that feel-good. Kind of being able to yell when we need to. My next one is it was born from thoughts I had while driving, because sometimes I think about the worst things that could happen when I drive. And yeah, so I was thinking about what would happen if I would be driving outside of the lines. Est-ce que ça t'arrive de vouloir te glisser dans la ligne de gauche pendant qu'un char arrive dans la direction opposée, juste pour voir la réaction du conducteur, voir s'il va se tasser dans la coudoir, rouler passer le pavé, faire quelques vrilles avant de choir au fond du fossé, ou s'en rendre compte juste à temps et tout éviter? Parfois, j'aimerais me glisser dans l'autre ligne pour forcer quelqu'un d'autre à perdre le contrôle et lui usurper tous ses moyens. Comme quand j'étais enfant et que par choix, je gribouillais à l'extérieur des lignes. Parce que je pouvais, parce que c'était satisfaisant, parce qu'avec mon papier et mon crayon, personne ne me l'empêchait. Je pouvais me laisser aller et perdre le contrôle, par choix. J'aimerais conduire à l'extérieur des lignes. I think that for me, it's kind of a parallel between when you're a kid and being able to draw outside of the lines. And now that you're an adult, you're kind of, and I mean, obviously you should drive in the lines. So yeah, for me, it's kind of, if I could ever drive outside of the lines, it would be so amazing. My next text is more about trying to keep going when you feel like everything is going wrong. Un faisceau de lumière traverse la larme sur la lame, tel un kaléidoscope. Un chemin devant, avancé. Une paire de béquilles sous les aisselles, parce qu'on ne peut pas regarder en arrière. On pourrait perdre de vue la lumière. Impossible de dormir, de rêver avec un torticolis. Calice, réveille, regarde devant, avance, pas le temps de dormir. Sleep is for the dead. Puis si tu saignes, c'est que ton cœur bat encore. En haut, s'envoler, muni d'ailes de souffrance, les deux jambes crevées. Sometimes we can use our hardships to actually be able to go further. My fifth short text was actually kind of me just looking at my room during the first lockdown in 2020 when we were just like stuck in our rooms and yeah, trying to find what was beautiful about it. L'unique embrasure sur l'étrangère humanité, la poterne figée par un pommeau argenté, le parquet stoppé par l'antébois affaissé, l'infini des possibilités du rêve enfermé. Les constellations en plâtre blanc de mon ciel pop-corn, les soleils manœuvrables de mon univers artificiel, la verdure impénétrable de ma prison quadrilatère. Mon île est un isolement nécessaire, en réincarnation de soi obligatoire, fierté et force de mon âme meurtrie, fusil de la main sur la beauté crue. Je suffoque, je m'éveille et je recommence. Comme quotidienneté en looping répétitif. Tu meurs et je cherche toujours à vivre. During the pandemic, I actually took a philosophy class outside of the program just for fun. And it was about utopias. And I just wrote a short paragraph once about what that meant, the utopia, and trying to think about a better world. And if there ever was a chance that we could find a better world that was good for everyone. Je regarde le diaporama aux mots noirs sur fond marin, sur mon écran d'ordinateur, en essayant de décoder ce qui est écrit pour le réécrire dans mes notes. Ça passe le temps. J'entends mon professeur de philosophie politique à travers les haut-parleurs de mon clavier. J'aime pas regarder sa vidéo, nos yeux se croisent jamais vraiment. L'utopie n'est pas un monde parfait, mais un monde meilleur que le nôtre. Meilleur pour qui? Je me demande. My seventh text is about performance, not in the way we're doing right now, but in the way of like being productive all the time and about feeling the need to prove yourself over and over again by making more and more and more and more things. Je suis vidée, épuisée. J'ai plus la force de questionner. Mes questions sont vides. Je m'intéresse plus aux réponses. Je veux juste être at peace. Plus réfléchir, mettre mon cerveau à off. Le vrai virus là, s'appelle productivité. J'ai été contaminée bien avant la pandémie. C'est la pire maladie. Il a sucé le temps que j'aurais dû avoir pour me ressourcer, m'améliorer, apprécier les petites choses de la vie, de la nuit. Fuck. Un peu plus haut, un peu plus loin. Shut up, Ginette. Ça suffit. Enough. Pas toujours besoin d'en faire plus. Trop, c'est comme pas assez. Puis là, c'est too much. And my last text was a very intense moment in my relationship, like kind of a big fight that I was having with my significant other. And I instead of just crying, I decided to cry and write at the same time, because I feel like I cry when I write when I'm really emotional, and it's kind of therapeutic. So that's that last text to end on a high note. J'essaie de me dégourdir les jambes après un FaceTime qui s'est terminé abruptement. Hey, fuck you, sérieux. J'essaie de bouger au rythme de l'eau dans les conduits, de la pluie sur les vitres et des pneus qui crissent sur le pavé dehors. Fuck you. Pour l'instant, fuck you. Mon cellulaire est branché au fond du studio, silencieux, inanimé. Mes sneakers Adidas blanc-beige de saleté crissent sur le plancher. Je pousse un soupir et m'assois sur le sol poussiéreux. Pense au respect de tes engagements préalables. Les mots sortent de ma bouche avant que je ne puisse les freiner. Il le percute de plein fouet. Fuck you. Il raccroche. Mon masque est trempé de mes larmes et de ma morve. Je l'utilise comme un mouchoir. J'essuie mes yeux du revers de ma main. J'ai pas mis de purelle avant de me toucher le visage. Mon mascara tache mes mains de noir. J'aurais dû choisir le waterproof, je me dis. L'eau dans les conduits, l'eau dehors, l'eau dans mes yeux. Je me relève. Thank you for listening.
Wow. Thank you, Amelie. Wow, you've reinforced my belief in to always expect the unexpected from someone. So, wow. Yeah. It's so nice. So nice. I'm going to, at the end, I'd like for you to put the titles of the pieces you've read in the chat, if possible, because I think that a lot of people would like to track these poems that you've just read, and your delivery as well. So we've got to check out all of those places that you've acted, you know, all of the things you've acted in to see more of your performances. Okay, thank you. So now that brings us to our second poet. Her name is Andrea Callanan. Andrea Callanan is the author of The Debt, which I have right here with me. Here we go. It's by Bibliothesis, and it was published this year. She's also the author of Crown by Ants Truders Press, which was published in 2019. A doctoral student in the Department of English at Memorial University, Andrea holds Vanier Canada and Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation scholarships and was honored in 2020 with the Cox and Palmer Sparks Creative Writing Award. She lives in St. John's with her husband, poet Mark Callanan, and their 4 children. So please join me in welcoming Andrea. Andrea, thank you so much for being with us. So over to you.
Thank you, Leslie. Can everyone hear me okay? Good.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone at VERSeFest. Thank you, Monty. It's wonderful to be here with you, and I wish I really were there with you. I'm in St. John's, Newfoundland. It's starting to get dark out here because we're in a whole other time zone. And I'm just going to start reading, yes, The Debt. Thank you also to everyone at Biblioasis for making this book possible and beautiful. I'm going to start with a little poem. I've been working on a major written exam lately for my doctoral comprehensive exams, which means I've been sitting down a lot. And it also means I've been thinking a lot about metaphors because I'm writing about how metaphors work. And so this poem has kind of sort of jumped out as the perfect place to start this. It's called To My Spine, and it was prompted by a bad metaphor from a yoga class, and I had to correct it with a better metaphor. So, to my spine. You've got a lot of nerve. You've got all the information. My body's rolling highway, my body's rising and falling railroad. My body's cordillera, meaning cord, meaning little rope, little knotted rope, gripped by big knotted muscles in need of kneading back to pliancy. Gentle curve, gentle arch, gentle ridge of the softest geometry. The geometry hills have, beaches, streams. Swaying column, creaking ladder, sounder of cracks and pops, you demand ringing out, wish to be folded, draped. Where do you find the resolve to keep me upright when some days it's all I can do to keep my head on straight? That's To My Spine. I can't bounce back and forth between languages so quickly, so we'll just have to keep on going in English and try to explain myself in that way. It's funny to be putting out a first collection. I'm midway through my 40s. This book has been in the works for about 15 years. And so a first collection I always think of as kind of a like, hello, my name is sticker. Like this is all you need to know about me now. And this poem that I'm going to read from is really my philosophical perspective, I suppose. So it's a poem called Crown, and it's a long piece of interwoven different styles that was really about me looking back through my, back through my childhood, back through the political and economic influences growing up in Newfoundland in the 80s and early 90s, which of course was the time of the cod moratorium and other things. And so each of the pieces in this larger collection or in this larger poem came from a news item from that time, as something that had been preserved somewhere, either an older news item from my childhood or more recent ones. So this poem, when I read it on its own, I call it Crownland, and it was inspired by a CBC news piece about illegal garbage dumping in the forests, in the woods. So this is Crownland. We take care of the things that bear our names. We take care of our houses, checks, our children. The rest is someone else's business. What falls outside the fence line, beyond the rock walls, silvering softwood posts, the slipknot secured gates, that's called Crownland. The heathen without a heath knows a peculiar shame. The empire sends us scraps, and so our scraps to the empire we return. We bank trails with refrigerators, washers, dryers, rolls of carpet. Leave burnt out cars to block paths, toss blasty boughs on tire fires. Berries blaze through ragged, rusting coils of mattresses resigned to slow collapse. And this next one is called Winter. So if anyone's doing the math, if I grew up in the 80s, my mother grew up in the 50s and 60s, which means that both of our respective childhoods were sort of overshadowed by conversation about nuclear armament and these sorts of things. It's one of the few things we share, nuclear anxiety. And this poem isn't really about that, but it's kind of about that, if that helps. Winter. The adults warned my mother never to eat snow, never even to catch flakes on her tongue. Each hexagon in a time of testing harbored in its symmetry a nuclear threat, even though her island was half a world away from those in pictures, shrinking under their mushroom clouds. In front of the TV, in the days of TV, when the one clear channel channels national news into our living room, my mother tries to keep ahead of the weather by building up a stock of mittens. Practical and almost pretty, tactical use of bits and scraps, rough wool, coarsely spun, means our mitts soak through with each snowball we shape, each trench we dig. They slip from our cold pinched wrists, stitches caked with small white bullets, crystals compacted to something like ice. We chew at the geodes in our cupped palms, wool-threaded rock candies laced with road salt. My mother never heeded fallout warnings. None of them did. Fatalists, even in childhood, they knew nothing that fell from the sky as feathered water could ever be avoided. She knits with a speed that seems the stuff of cartoons, heroic, impossible. But we are young, and our hands are very small. I'm gonna fly through the generations and read something about my own daughter and my relationship with her. When Leslie was reading my bio, it ends with saying that I live with my 4 children, and actually I only live with 3 of them now because one has moved off to seek her fortune as a university student, which is a whole experience. Was not prepared for the emotional impact of that, the pride and the despair. And this poem I wrote a few years ago when she was younger. My daughter is a dancer. She's always been a dancer and always very interested in Hollywood films, musicals with dance numbers, big glitzy dance numbers. And all you really need to know about this is at the end of the poem, when I use the word point, I mean point as in ballet dance shoes, toes up. So this is called Golden. My daughter can explain it all. The biggest hits of 1929, each step from vaudeville to soundstage, casting and costuming, choreography for triple threats, the slapdash scaffolds of a quick and dirty golden age. I can explain none of it. How this child has outgrown me. Her worn pink shoes now larger than my own. This child who began to dance 3 months before she was born. I have no explanation for the dancing. The screen flashes silver while my daughter corrects the turns of dancers long since turned to dust. She breathes her ambition into the air between us. Under the fractal branches of a metallic tree, unnumbered figures swirl into a sequined froth, and their point, I am informed, is terrible. I'll read one with the other 3 kids in it now. It seems only fair. This is called Vacant Lot. Don't think it requires any explanation. All summer, the children recited the names of the diesel creatures that lurched and roared at the top of our street. Excavator, front end loader, bulldozer, dump truck. Empty space turned to storage for gravel and lengths of PVC. Rumors of new infrastructure, something to fill the gap where the hospital had been. A summer of dust stirred up, of mammoth machines belching black grit, of 9 to 5 digging and dumping. A thrill for 3 little ones, a trial for a nervous mother who heard shrieking brakes, hydraulic gasps when she went to sleep each night. And then it was gone. Nothing but a flat plain of chipped stone behind the galvanized fence. We grew out of trucks, and the lot grew into a meadow. I recite the names of flowers: clover, daisies, vetch, burdock, curled dock, evening primrose, mugwort, thistles, goldenrod, wild mustard. And I'm going to end with a little short poem that started as a very long poem. This was once a 4-minute performance piece when I did that sort of thing. I don't do that sort of thing anymore. That I sort of simmered down to its concentrated essence. It's a sappy love poem. It's called Anniversary. We fell in love, and I had to get used to a new kind of speaking in plural. That spring, all the maples were late with their leaves, or so it seemed. Gray in May and a risk of snow. We'd go to work, and you'd send a dispatch for each patch of sunlight that appeared in your office, and I'd do the same from mine, thinking of you, thinking of me, of your face turned to the bright sky for the moment that it brightened. The moments of brightness were few, but still we knew the sun was coming. This spring, even if it should come late, I've lost my place. This spring, even if it should come late, we'll measure squares of sunlight on the floor and drop the kids at school and lock the door. That first night, you held my hand against your buttoned shirt, and we grinned until our faces hurt. We stayed that way until the sky turned light. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. That was great. That was amazing. Thank you very much. I've got questions for you. I'll save them for later. Oh, perfect. Okay, now. So I am pleased to introduce our third poet, McKenzie McDonald. McKenzie McDonald is a 23-year-old poet, writer, and scholar living in Ottawa. She recently participated in ARC's Poet in Residence program and received the George Johnson Poetry Award at Carleton University in 2020. Her writing has appeared in Bywords, Seafoam magazine, and Vagabond City Literary Journal, among galleries and self-publications. She is working on a book of poetry that reconciles how language fortifies and resists her mental illnesses. McKenzie, thank you so much for being with us. Over to you.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Leslie. Thank you to the fellow readers who are here with me today, as well as everyone who got me here, who I see in the audience, like a lot of you. So thanks, it means a lot. Okay, so I'm going to start with a poem that is about grooming rituals, and it's called Regarding My Roots. A mosaic, Canada. I'm waist down naked next to the melting pot, waiting. Slow as wax this service, I swear. A root native to my cunt, ingrown in the shivering minutes, exposed seconds. I'm thrilled by the tear, migrating from most hidden inner cheek to my cheek. Amazon bush to flesh blush, the pleasure, the nude red, the politics. No more trees? The crest smile glove lady, my breathe easy. For 2 weeks, I'm clean and 20% careful, says the bill. This ritual until my overrated porcelain, surrender. Skirtless flags bowed solemn, butterflied. How soothing it is to now stroke my hairless. Okay, so this next poem I'm going to read, I think of as my COVID poem, but mostly it's just about having a lot of big feelings about everything that's going on, but them all being contained to a small space in your room. And it's called Flimsy Heart-Shaped Diary Key. 1. Slow as the gradient of loading, or seconds split between gray, shift, frayed edge of my seat creak, I stop reacting. I am the sound of TV fuzzy. My big feelings happen in slippers. 2. I never thought so much. Blue light and wrinkles. Like the summer they electrocuted the Rosenbergs, I aged technically. Shock and shock between brows. Big feeling. I use arrow keys like wings towards full-throated ease. Type up and down till bed sore. Nightingale Keats, Jean Pocket, entombed. Both phlegm and pus grow the likes on Twitter. 4. I can no longer tell the difference. Stuck feeling or scrolling through tiles on bathroom floor. Double tap of yesterday from stomach to esophagus. Where is the third party? 5. Diaphragm? Option. Forgot to breathe or maybe just tip Uber Eats. How sick am I behind the mark on the wall? Deep as history repeating itself tab after pop-up after next episode malware alert. 6. Big scare slow as the gradient of loading. Seconds split between red, drama, 4 million notifications later, I stop reacting. I am the green thought bubble that chimes behind the glass. I use my flimsy heart shape. Diary key to get outside. So this next poem I'm going to read is called Goes the Weasel. And it's kind of in a similar tone to the poem Amelie presented on the environmental crisis. And it's called Pop Goes the Weasel. In viral hearts warming, as they go the circuit, gather sedimental fists. I swipe through polar furrows, watch fashion shrink into that black hue supposed for ice. Left my iPhone in its plug. Sucks. The end of the world, awesome from a screen? 2012, 2019 newscasts smiling, chiming, united hands winding up the sun in the box. Da-da, 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 da-da. If the doorknob is hot and our house is on fire, why does this crawl lead to a Highland Greens pump playing house music? If Greta Thunberg is spearheading the clickable under Sweet 16s, why is this street empty littered with me and memes from desktop to concrete? Rest in peace, tree and tar sand that died for this coupon, obituary. A free recycling bin rolled to the top of a Home Depot trash mountain, and pop goes the weasel. Okay. So the next poem I'm going to read is called Lady Laziness After Lazarus by Sylvia Plath. And I do quote a few lines from that poem. Ideally, Us exists creaseless. I quit folding over the pages in our copies of Lord and Olds. Why does he double down the twin bends between other women's thighs? Fillable, flippable as a prologue, their beige blank margins next to mine, screwy with ink. I wish I could pull off the former. Femme Phoenix. Rise red after salon rinse and call him bullshit. Bleach to ash blonde when I wear grief cool, coo at a party peat behind horned rims, I pass away so slow, no wonder. Written in my margins, faded, fatal, fatal, closing in on block text, caskets. No wonder his pen screwed off. Ideally, I exist crinkly. Call out the paper shoved down my shirt for what it is, my wadded up writings, push up. Lady Laziness, I have done it again. One guy in every 10 I strike through myself, his name. Ideally, our spines press stout and ripple woven knuckles. Books. My next poem is 80 Pounds of Shooting Star. I'm rarely hungry. As for years, an attic bull. How desperate, bags and sagging bags creep up there, stirring dust. Barely visible as the ends of a spark, outlines crouched in plastic, black, to fall into. The back of the throat, there I'll live, calm as cross-legged on sea bottom. I can't remember my last breath as of late. Sorting waste away takes a while. The mouthful of fiberglass pink that grows in term, asbestos like a shooting star, as my hot oxygen works itself under the flimsy material, will never hold anything of weight. Guess I'll flap to sleep, blank as a doll. In the process, colorful as science, my 80-pound body full of ideas. Okay, so this last piece I'm going to read is an excerpt from sort of like a poetry prose short story that I recently wrote, and it's called Old Geographies and Average Joes. 2 years since he cast me in that red dress, conquered the buttery bumps shelled therein, I am no longer the same piece of tail. Story of the semicircles cracked under eyes, the Rejeska falling action down the bridge of my nose. He says Halifax changed, that the condominiums rising raised the price of living, and I embody agreement. Nod my head of hair blown dry, but not by Atlantic winds. When he finally fucks me in the John, it's as old and tired as Cabot. Playing seaman, ejaculating seaman, like it's his renaissance. Yawn. I wait for him to join Jenny Lynn's daughters on the dance floor of the Dome before drifting back out myself. His whispered, just this last time for nostalgia's sake, throbbing out from his dick all the way back to 1497. I can't believe I've erected his white and reddening flag. Let him sail into my circa 1998 Nova Scotia. Did I forget I live on unceded Mi'kmaq territory when I let him swell me with anger? On the plane home, I look back to the map of the province in which I was born and think of how I learned to reach out wrong, towards average Joes like in the creation of Adam. Maybe this truth will help me to reconcile our pasts. Thank you. That completes my reading, and I'm really excited for Molly to read next.
That was amazing, McKenzie. Thank you so much. Great. Okay, yeah, I'm also looking forward to hearing from Molly. So it gives me a pleasure to introduce our fourth poet tonight. Her name is Molly Cross-Blanchard. Molly Cross-Blanchard is a white and Métis writer living on unceded Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh territory. She works as the publisher of Room magazine. Her debut collection is Exhibitionist, which I have here with me somewhere. I'll show it to you in a second. It's by Coach House Books, and it was published this year. Find her on Instagram, Twitter, at Molly ECB. Molly, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to get my copy of your book.
Thanks, Leslie. Here's mine. Oh, there we go.
Nice. Perfect.
Aw, McKenzie. That's nice. Thank you so much for having me at VERSeFest. Thanks, Monty, for the invitation. Can everyone hear me all right? Awesome. I'm so happy to be here with these other poets. Amelie, Andrea, McKenzie. Your readings are wonderful. I'm really honored to be here with you. So yeah, thanks for the introduction, Leslie. My name is Molly Cross-Blanchard. I am streaming right now from the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, which is colonially known as East Vancouver. I live on Kingsway, which, if you're familiar with Vancouver, is a long stretch of road that cuts sort of diagonally across Vancouver. And way back before settler contact and industrialization, it was a footpath that cut through a really dense forest, and it was used by the people and by their animal kin. So I'm really grateful to have that little piece of knowledge about the place where I live, and I'm grateful for the stewards of the land. So I'm going to read from my debut book, Exhibitionist, which was published with Coach House this spring. Exhibitionist is about being a young woman and wanting to be seen for who you really are, warts and all, and still wanting to be loved despite all of those facts. And it's framed sort of in the light of an ending relationship. So I'm going to start with the poem that I usually start with, which is Exhibitionist, the title poem of the book, and also the first poem in the book. Exhibitionist. The most orgasms I ever had in one go come over Christmas vacation in my childhood basement bedroom. Door cracked open, sheets peeled back, pussy in plain view of the cat clawing carpet. Is this how flashers feel in their trench coats and chest hair? I'd like to sit in the park with my thumb stuck up my nose and wait for someone to notice. I want to be more like the woman in Burger King who eats fries straight off the floor. The woman who cries in Walmart when her preteen son says, "Fuck you, Mom," for the first time in front of the greeter yanking carts. At the strip club, I eat onion rings, watch the dancer watching me from upside down in her halo of light. When will my roommate notice the way I air dry underwear on the corner of the hallway mirror, symbol of sex in his reflection? I want to feel like a display model lipstick, dug at nubs smeared across the mouths of strangers, a much-handled sample of the real thing. This next poem is called "It's So Hard to Live in the World." I give the world my body, and the world gives me insomnia, and meetings in pubs where I buy my own beer. I'm only here because my face is white and my grandpa sells furnaces to all of America. I keep FaceTiming my friends so I can cry. I didn't come up with that myself. Everyone on Twitter is smarter than me. I'm the only one who thinks I'm fat, and it's ruining every day. I don't walk my dog enough. It's my fault she bit the Pomeranian. I like Brussels sprouts, I'm just not eating them. I bought some iron pills, they're still in the plastic. I followed all the hot fat girls on Instagram, but still I grab handfuls of my tummy like, fuck you. How many more days can I ignore the urgent email before I'm fired? How many can I spend staring at the philodendron before I water it? I love when someone suffers, because then I can help them. No one is helping me through this suffering except Mom, but duh, she doesn't count. Well, actually, maybe they're trying to help me and I'm saying, no, thank you. I don't want to go for ice cream tonight. It's been raining and raining, so I slink to the window and picture this. Mom pulls up in the Buick. I sprawl across the back seat and leave everything behind, even the books. On the prairie, I play Paper Mario in the basement for hours while Reese feeds me the crusts from her grilled cheeses. And when she's at school, I lie on the trampoline watching the bird feeder I made in freshman shop class. No birds come, but I've given the world my body and the world has given it a rest. I'm a woman without a lover. I'm a woman without a lover, so I Dutch oven my dog on the daily. Masturbate to Zac Efron in the propaganda film The Lucky One. Take a lot of walks to the store for herbs and limes. Talk to the ceiling at night like absolve me of this agony. Freeze crock-pot meals. Play the drums on my pussy mound to the beat of Hakuna Matata. Don't wonder if I'm pretty. Don't even want a shitty boyfriend to carry my tote through the conservatory. Carry my own tote. Touch a prickly pear. Suck the bead of blood till it clots. Grit is a thing we have in common, am I right, ladies? Masturbate to Taylor Schilling in the propaganda film The Lucky One. Throw out crock-pot meals and call it KonMari. Idle in the Safeway parking lot sipping peppermint mocha to Ariana's Christmas album like shit, that's good. Talk to my thyroid like, why you such a lazy bitch? Watch the days keep coming like, get comfy, girl. Set the scene like I'm the main character in a movie about a heartbroken poet living in the big city with her typewriter and a chewini, who stirs orange bitters into a cocktail with a pencil, then tucks it behind her ear when Zac Efron enters the saloon in a fringed jacket and swaggers over like, how are you single, little miss? Watch the credits roll and think about the next time I'll be kissed. This next one is the only poem I have ever written about Tinder, and it's called What Do You Do? What do you do? When you brush your teeth, do you get toothpaste on the mirror, or are you a cyborg? Do you sleep naked, or do you suck? Have you ever talked to the moon as a friend? Where did you grow up? Did it have a water park? Did the fair come through every August, and did you piss yourself a little on the Ring of Fire? Is this haircut negotiable? Do you have roommates? Are they also blonde? Do you and your roommates sit knee to knee on a futon drinking pale ales and watching The Office while someone pours queso over a plate of Tostitos? Sorry, that was pointed. Have you been on the apps long? Have you ever swiped left on every nice-looking person because you felt undeserving of love? What time of day do you masturbate mostly? Do you think about an authority figure or a lesser mortal? Am I the kind of person who could make you hard? Don't answer that. White liquor or brown, fucking or friendship, land back or reconciliation. Do I intimidate you? I know you can see my areolas through my t-shirt, and yes, it's a power move, but I really am a sweet girl. Just ask my therapist from when I was 12 and too anxious to have sleepovers. Did you go to therapy when you were 12, or does your spirit stay in your body when you talk to your birth father on the phone? How many pets have died since you were old enough to feel that perverse loss? What were their names? Where on your body are they tattooed? Are you going to let me live my life, or are you going to sit me at a dinner table with your sexist friend, Stephen? Are you going to be pissy if I write poems about how much sex we are or aren't having? And if I say, okay, then I'll write about my other boyfriends. Will you throw a beer glass, not at my head, but not at my head? Will your mother look at me across the yard at the engagement barbecue with pity all over her face because she knows she raised a shitbag and hopes there's something I can do about it? Should we make out? And this last poem is called Accidental Boyf. Once upon a time, we met through mutuals. His shirts were just normal shirts, and wow, that's rare. We went for lunch and I thought, tall. We did a stupid hug with my foot off the curb. 26 dates later, and there are affirmative words like missed you and good at sex. Eating lasagna, then fucking to the sounds of the Flat Earth documentary. Skincare bundle for my birthday. Leather toiletries bag for his. He made me come once, and damn, what a trick. Ask Google, this mean love? Tired clit say, no, honey. Ask Google, how to know when love? Clit say, when all he gotta do is touch your hand. Accidental boyf touches my hand and it's like, okay, Paul from the Gilmore Girls revival. It's like, why am I here? I wanna be home farting under my own covers. I know he wouldn't mind my farts. He's a good man. He'd stand in the kitchen with me scooping strawberry cream cheese with Triscuits. He'd look at my car like, here's the problem. He's not like the others, but he's not like the others. When he kisses me with tongue at the back door, I wish I felt, okay, I can stay, and not going to Arby's without you. I wish. A good man wants to be my boyf, so I go with it because I deserve a good man, you see? I'm not fucked up at all. Look at these healthy behaviors. Look how he kisses my nose and remembers the stories I tell him, and look at me not running from that stuff. Standing so still, you'd think there's no place I'd rather be. Thank you.
Wow. That was great, Molly. Thank you so much. Wow. Amazing. Okay. Wow. You guys have really left me kind of speechless here. Yeah, you're not emerging. It doesn't feel to me like you're emerging. It feels like you have a lot of experience doing this sort of thing, but relative to some others, we all have more experience than someone else. So now I would invite anybody with questions to just put them in the chat. That would be amazing, and I can get to some. Thank you, Veronica. Shout out to Veronica, who's helping us with all the technical details tonight. So I didn't have to do that, which was great. Thank you. It's been so smooth. Okay. So I see McKenzie, is that your dad? I see in the chat, it's McDonald. I the dad. I'm not sure if that's legit or not. But that's fun. It is. Great. Thank you. That's so sweet. Okay, let me see here. I know I have questions that could probably fill up the whole time if there are no questions, but that's dangerous if I start asking questions. So let me get started, actually. Why not? I'll just go for it. McKenzie, how about you? I had a question for you in terms of when did you first get started writing?
I started writing, I think my last year of high school, so grade 12. But I never got really serious about poetry until I began my first year of university at Carleton. So I think that's 2018, 17.
Okay, wow. Wow. So you participated in the ARC's Poet in Residence program. Wow, when was that?
I believe it was this past June, and Jim Johnstone was my mentor, and I actually went to see him read at Knox Church, and it was phenomenal. So that was a
nice.
crucial sort of experience for me.
Right. That was lucky. You are young, and so that you were even younger to get that opportunity. That's great. Wow. Congratulations. Nice. I loved your reading. Okay. Molly, question for you.
Great.
So yeah, your book is amazing. It feels beautiful. It's a pleasure. It was a pleasure. I did not read the whole thing. I read many pieces, but not all the pieces yet. The book just arrived. I was super excited. wanted to ask you, how's it been? You're newly published. How does that feel? What's life like these days?
I really wish I had a heartwarming story for you, but actually I haven't really written another poem since I finished the book. I haven't written much of anything. I did a festival at the University of Fraser Valley a couple of weeks ago, and they commissioned me to write something new, and it was like pulling teeth. I feel pretty burnt out, honestly, but I think that's just the pandemic. I don't think that speaks to the debut book experience. At least I hope not. I hope I don't feel this way every time I publish a book. So,
Right.
but there are those little pockets of joy where someone has read it and it's meant something to them, and they share that with me. So that's been the best part, and that's the stuff that keeps me hopeful about a career in writing.
Right. Wow, you use the body a lot. Like, I guess that's an understatement, but well, could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the book too, I realized this pretty early on in the writing process, that I was writing about shame. And I think women especially hold a lot of shame in their bodies. So when I started writing against that, it just naturally came out that I was writing about, the way we smell, and the way we grow hair, and whether we remove that hair or not, and are the way they grow, and we don't fit our clothes anymore, or else we're too small for our clothes, and people praise us. And so I think, yeah, in the process of writing about shame, the body just came right along with that the whole way.
Wow. I like that a lot. So I hope you write more soon. But no pressure. It's fresh. It's fresh. It's real fresh.
A little bit of pressure.
Yeah, we all need that. That's fun. Thanks. We'll get back to you. Amelie. Yeah. So your delivery really surprised me. I knew you were an actress, but I didn't know what to expect. It was so great. Like you all had that capacity to draw us in. And I just was wondering, like, which came first? Was it the poetry or the acting?
It was actually the poetry. I think I started writing when I was in like elementary school. I used to tell myself I'd write a book every year as a kid. A book like had 20 pages, and I used to like actually take paper and fold it and write in it and create a book. And I still have like folders of all the little stories I wrote. And then when I got to high school, I stopped completely, and I felt as if I didn't know what to say. I guess I think in high school I realized that I felt that some people had better things to say, and that I should listen, actually. And I think that's what made me stop. And when the pandemic started, a couple of theater students and I just created a collective, and we started writing together to still make art, because that as artists we couldn't do much and we couldn't perform, so we wrote. And I'm slowly getting back into it and finding that love again for writing, and also just trying to not feel like I shouldn't be writing and should still just be listening, because I still feel like some other people have always better things to say than I do. And I think I'll always have that, and I'll always struggle with that.
Wow. Gosh, I hope I hope you don't too much, because I really enjoyed hearing what you had to say. Yeah, your climate piece was super. Yeah, but it all was great. Thank you. So I had a question actually for Andrea. in terms of your poem Golden, really, I was happy you actually read something after another poem, because there was a few lines in there that really struck me, being a mother myself, and that comes out in your poems. So could you tell us a little bit about your inspiration? What's the inspiration? Like, what draws you to write?
Oh, good question. I often say that part of why I write is because I'm so bad at knowing the right thing to say in the moment. I always either say the wrong thing or don't say anything because I mess it up. I mess it up. And so writing gives me time to sort of collect myself, come back and try and make up for all of the embarrassing things I've said. And it's interesting because I didn't really mean for this collection to be as much about parenting and family and all these things as it turned out to be. That was never what I had in mind. And actually, the initial version of this collection was called Exhibit, dangerously close to Exhibitionist. So good thing that didn't happen in the same year. That could have been pretty bad. And it was really about, it wasn't about me as a person and my family and my life as it was about sort of our collective stories, our collective narratives. And really, as part of the editing process, I moved out of that and sort of dug into, the self as a person with, children growing up. And when my first daughter was born, I sort of took a solemn vow, never write about the kids, because it's too dangerous to go into this territory. It's going to get sentimental. And of course, at that time in my 20s, I was like, oh, sentimentality, ew, feelings, gross, yuck. But I have gotten soft with age, and I'm really glad that I have, because I look at these now as these little capsules of these moments in my children's growing up and in my development as a person. And I'm so glad that they're there and that I've done it. So, yeah.
Oh, man. Yes. I hear you. Yeah. Like, it's important. I think too, it's important to document because you realize how fleeting things are sometimes, and you're happy for that memory on paper. I love that. Thank you. Gosh, I'm being reminded here that we need to wrap up in about, I guess we'll give it a few more minutes, maybe five minutes or so. Yeah, I'm just gonna look here in the chat to see if I'm not missing any. Oh, that's great. I'm so happy Veronica has put some links in there to the books, to oh wow, Donald Car Plexiglass is actually there linked as well. That's super. The Debt, there's a link to that book as well. Exhibitionist is there too, so that's really great. I'm happy for that. I'll be taking notes there for my own personal use. Yeah, let's see here. I'm just checking. So anyone should really feel free if they have any questions or anything to just drop it in the link in the chat. Let me see here. Yeah, so I wanted to ask, so for example, Molly, could you tell us a little bit about how the book came to be published?
Yeah, so it's my thesis book, actually. I did the UBC Creative Writing MFA. And so it was basically the culmination of all of my work there. The program is multidisciplinary, so I was working on some fiction and creative nonfiction too, but you choose your main thesis genre, and then I got to work with Ian Williams on that book, which was really special. And
Wow.
yeah, and then it just so happened that the deadline for my thesis lined up with the submission deadline for Coach House. And so I thought, you know what, might as well just really get it to the place where I want it to be, and shoot it off and see what happens. And I did, and it worked out for the best. And
That's amazing.
I got to work with an editor over there for a year, and a Susan Holbrook, and it all just happened very quickly. I don't think that's typical. I feel very lucky that I kind of took my shot and it worked out. But it has been, I mean, 5 or 6 years of writing. There were a couple of years of writing before I got into the MFA. And I think 1 or 2 of those poems made it into the book too. So it wasn't like snip snap, but it did feel that way in the end. It was like, what just happened? All of a sudden, like I'm holding this thing, and it was pretty magical.
Oh, that's amazing, because that's a big name in publishing. So congratulations,
Yes.
big congratulations. Also, Andrea, can you say a word about, or two, about how you got to be published?
Yeah, my book was also my thesis project at Memorial University. We don't have an MFA program, but we have a master's program where you can opt to do a creative, like research creation based thesis. And so that's what I had done. And when I was nearing the end of that, I actually got an email from my now editor, Luke Hathaway at Biblioasis, who I've known for years and years, and who said, hey, I'm editing at Biblioasis now. Do you have a manuscript yet? Because people had been sort of at me for about the last 10 years. So when's the book coming out? And I said, yes, okay, fine. Yes, I will have a manuscript for you. And so when I finished that project, I handed that to him. And that was in 2018. And it was a long process, partially just because, busy lives and big things happening, and then delays due to COVID and all of that. So most of my editing happened during the lockdown, which changed the meaning of everything. And none of the poems mean the thing that I thought they did. But yeah, I was just very lucky to have enough people in the community that they were sort of waiting for me to be ready and were there for me when I was. So that was pretty amazing.
That's really good.
Very
And
lucky,
the
yeah.
thing, like having a supportive community, giving you that gentle push.
Absolutely gentle, and sometimes not so gentle, but I needed it. So yeah.
Right. That's amazing to hear. I'm happy for you, and congratulations. And congratulations, Amelie and McKenzie, as well, on the work that you've produced so far. We've got like 3 minutes. I'll give the floor maybe to Amelie just to say a word or two about your publication journey.
Yes, well, actually, I published a book when I was 9, when I was really young. But when I say a book, I was self-published and made it to like get to know for le Salon du Livre, and like had this big high, and then I was like, nope, that's it. I made it, and I stopped. And so now I'm writing for theater with my collective, and we have a show on Thursday at l'Espace René Prévost in Gatineau, which is a dance theater show.
Oh my goodness.
With our poems. So that's
Wow.
pretty special. And writing with like a group of people without putting a name on the poems just makes it easier, I feel like, also just to say what we want, and like without being named, and just with our group name, Les Frivoles, and not taking ourselves too seriously and having fun with it.
Oh, that's so super. I'm gonna check out that show. Yeah, I'd really like to. And McKenzie, last words?
On the publishing process, or just in general?
Anything you want to say.
No,
maybe your publication process then.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like you kind of said in my introduction, I'm still working with language to see how like some narratives or like some types of language keep me stuck in some of my like experiences of mental illness, but also it's kind of like my way to like free myself from those experiences. So it's definitely like a fun process that I'm excited to keep working on among this wonderful community that I have been introduced to through VERSeFest. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you. What a great way to end it. Well, I thank you, and I thank all of you for participating, for being here, for sharing your wonderful poems. Check out their books. Yeah, so thank you on behalf of VERSeFest. Please check out the other events lined up. I see that Monty has written Ian Williams at VERSeFest tomorrow and others. So please take care and all the very best. Thank you.
Today are Dave Reed from Calgary and Jean Pinchot from Montreal. I've read whether online, such in journals such as 100 Gourds and Cattails, and in print journals such as Modern Haiku and the Haiku Canada Review. Dave Reed is a short form Canadian poet from Calgary who focuses largely on the Japanese genres of haiku and tanka. He was a winner of the Haiku Foundation's Touchstone Award for individual poems in 2016 and was included in the Red Moon Anthology New Resonance 11 for Emerging Voices in Haiku in 2019. Dave has self-published 2 ebooks, 50 at 50, My Haiku, and Rubber Ball Days, a chapbook of lockdown tanka, both of which are available as a free download at his blog, davereedpoetry.blogspot.com. And so without further ado, I present you Dave Reed.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the introduction. As Mike said, I'm Dave Reed. I'm primarily a short form poet who focuses on the Japanese genres of haiku and tanka. Today, I'm mostly going to be reading from my e-chapbook, 50 at 50, but I'll also be reading 2 Hyven and a handful of tanka. Now, before I get started, I just want to thank both VERSeFest and the Caddo Group for having me today. It's an honor, and I'm grateful to have this time to read for you. I've printed a bunch of poem cards here since my poems are short, so you can read along with me if you like.